Hello everyone! In this video we're going to be building a starter home in the desert. I wanted to see if I could build something that was modern and that still looked somewhat luxurious and not cheap at all. But I did still have that budget and that was a bit of a challenge. But I really liked how it came out. I wanted this to be pretty simple and only have one bedroom, but I still wanted to have some spaces that were dedicated to different activities or just to hang out, such as this terrace out front. And I really like how this one came out. It came together pretty quickly and it's like a large concrete block, but I think that's still pretty interesting and I really liked the landscaping that I did, though you will see that much later in the build. I also used a lot of the Desert Lux kit. You can see that I am going to be using the awning, but I also used the wallpaper, the floor tiles, and a lot of the outdoor stuff out in the backyard. And that was really the main inspiration for this build. I wanted this to go really well with that, and in the end I used up almost all of the budget, but especially if you have two sims move in here, you can still feed your sims. They're not going to be left with like one simoleon. But this is going to be the basic layout. There's going to be one bedroom and a bathroom next to it, and on top of this platform there's going to be the kitchen, and below it there will be the living room and the desk. But before I do that, I add most of the furniture that goes in the bedroom. I wanted to use the modular shelves and clothes from Dream Home Decorator because I felt that they were modern, but they were also in my price range. I knew that I was going to have to use the cheapest counters. Well, they are actually the second cheapest counters that I have in my game. The cheapest ones are from City Living and those are in a very bad state. So I ended up just using one from them, but I add that much later and I actually disguised it so that it wasn't so noticeable that I did use one that was in a pretty bad condition. And at first I used them in this blue swatch, which I really liked how they matched the oven. But I eventually changed out that swatch for another one, and I think that it still looks nice, even though I was really happy with how the blue looked. But anyway, the bathroom is going to have these windows that are very high up. You will notice that I didn't add any curtains anywhere, but that's something that you can add once you have more money. It definitely wasn't a priority for me, but I did add some stuff that wasn't necessarily functional. For example, that bedside table that I add underneath the sink in the bathroom, that actually makes the sink not be functional, so I removed that before uploading this to the gallery. And speaking of which, if you would like to download this house, it will be up in the gallery under my ID, which is brand new, and I will also have it linked in the description. But anyway, now I have added a half wall to separate the kitchen and the living space better. Since I was using medium wall height, there's a ton of space for hanging stuff on the wall and to add windows. I didn't add too much to these walls, but I think that this wallpaper is so nice that the walls don't really need much on them anyway. But I did make sure to have some decorations, even on the bookshelf that I add in the living room, so that it looks full. And you can see that the desk has some books, even though there's already another bookshelf. Though speaking of which, I am not sure that you can get to the bookshelf that is in the living room. But if you can't, there's the other bookshelf anyway, so that shouldn't be a problem. I must mention that I added a computer to that desk, though I ended up having to remove it because I realized that this house was a bit more expensive than it was supposed to be. So I just changed out the computer for the cheapest one, which I think shouldn't be much of a problem if you decide to live in this house, because that's something that is very easy to switch out. My priority was for this to be fully furnished and decorated, and since I also wanted there to be a patio in the back, I knew that I needed to save some money in other spaces. So for example, I tried to use the grill from the Desert Lux kit, but it was more expensive than the bar, so I ended up going with a bar. And both here and in the back, I used this couch from Eco Lifestyle instead of the ones from the kit because they actually have a very similar vibe, though I don't remember if this one is cheaper. And I also liked how it had the same colors as this concrete that I was using, and I also discovered that the plants from Get Together and Eco Lifestyle go really well in here, so I was glad to use those. I think that I changed out the color of the counters because I wanted to use the City Living really awful counter on the one that has the oven, because the distressed part is actually covered by the oven, so it looks the same. If you don't have City Living, I apologize for that. Though it's not the only thing that I use from that pack. I also use the chairs, the coffee table, the snow globe that I have in the bookshelf, and the books that are up on the desk, as far as I can remember. Anyway, now we're going to be adding some finishing touches, I think. Things such as frogs and more lamps, as well as changing out the desk for a craftable one from Eco Lifestyle, and the TV that you can find in one of the dumpsters from that pack. I really used a lot of Eco Lifestyle in this build, and that's something that I would recommend to do on starter homes if you have that pack, because the stuff on that is really cheap and most of it looks really nice. That's really one of my favorite expansions for building, and also I think the gameplay is pretty fun. But that TV is super cheap. I think it's only 25 simoleons, and that's also a very easy thing to upgrade once you have a little bit more money, as well as the fridge, for example, or maybe the sink and the shower. But yeah, now we're going to be working on the landscaping of this house, which I was actually very happy with. I used a lot of stuff from debug because I couldn't afford anything otherwise. I included some cars and a ton of palm trees and cacti and succulents, so I thought that was cool. I also used these planters that I thought were pretty useful for making the landscaping make sense. I like how they have these organic shapes that are easy to fill in with plants, and I ended up adding a ton of stuff to them. I don't actually know how realistic that is, because even if I live in an area that has cacti, I don't normally see them like decorating planters in this way. Though, since this is The Sims and you don't even have to water them or anything, I thought that was fine, and I don't really know how much I actually care about realism anyway. I just like that these look nice, and I was pretty proud of how this one came out. I built this a while ago, and I think this was one of the first times in which I was using landscaping from debug, so I was pretty happy with it. I also found these flat stones that I used to create a pathway that leads to the terrace, and also I was able to size them up and to have the cars on top of them, so that was a free driveway, which was pretty cool, I thought. They don't fit perfectly, but I just covered the clipping with another car. But anyway, I think the only thing left to do is to add that modern statue next to the planters, as well as adding some terrain paint, and then I'm going to be adding some wall decorations inside the house and creating an entryway. I wanted there to be a mirror. That's something that I add to almost all of my houses, even though my house doesn't have that. But I felt that it was a pretty useful thing for everyday life. It's also good for gameplay because some skills require mirrors, such as charisma or research and debate. And if your sim needs to practice that and the only mirror in the house is in the bathroom, the other sims in the house might not want to use the bathroom. I also wanted to have a side table because that's a good space for keys or maybe some loose change and stuff like that. I wanted to post this video now because I felt that I had been posting a lot of occult builds, and I posted a castle, which was actually sort of a rebuild of Vlad's mansion, and I'm very happy with that, but I thought that it would be best not to flood my channel with castle builds, especially since I'm going to be doing another one. There's an official shell challenge, which uses the new castle state kit. There's prizes and everything, so if that's something that interests you, I'm going to link some information down in the description. I am not eligible for prizes because I don't live in the countries that are able to participate, so maybe that's something that you should check out if you're in it for the prize. But anyway, that's going to be it for the build. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you left a like and subscribe to my channel if that's something that you would like to do. And I will see you next time.